From flashing lights to flashing red flags, these are the moments where police officers shattered the trust they swore to protect. And first up, one cop who turned his badge into a weapon of betrayal.
This is in the District Court of Oklahoma County, State of Oklahoma, the State of Oklahoma versus Daniel K. Holtzclaw, case number CF 2014-5869. Verdict, count 1, sexual battery. We, the jury, impaneled and sworn.
On June 18th, 2014, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Daniel Holtzclaw was a cop. Young, athletic, clean cut, he wore the badge, patrolled the northeast side of Oklahoma City, and by all appearances was just another officer doing his job. But from December 2013 to June 2014, he was hunting.
Former Oklahoma City police officer Daniel Holtzclaw reacting to his conviction, this is back in 2015, ultimately sentenced to more than 200 years.
Holtzclaw targeted poor black women, many with criminal records, outstanding warrants, or vulnerable circumstances. He'd run background checks from his cruiser and pick out women he thought no one would believe. He used the badge to isolate them, intimidate them, and assault them.
Witnesses and not a single piece of direct evidence. The defense says Holtzclaw showed he had nothing to hide in his interrogation.
You got any questions about all this?
Oh my God, bless. I want DNA, I want everything, I want to get it done.
He's like, take my clothes, take my computer, take my phone, give me a lie detector.
The defense challenged the many accusers who said Holtzclaw's genitals suddenly appeared, even though he wore...
The moment that brought it all crashing down happened after his shift had ended. It was 2 a.m. when he pulled over Janie Liggins, a 57-year-old grandmother. Unlike his other victims, she didn't have a record, and she wasn't going to stay quiet.
So this was good evidence?
Well, you tell me.
I think so, because I mean, y'all, even if he didn't even rape nobody.
I think there couldn't be a clearer example of how coached these women were and how they were playing a game with these detectives.
Sherry Ellis accuses Holtzclaw of forced oral sex and vaginal rape. But here's how she describes Holtzclaw.
Tell me your description of him.
He's black.
He's okay. Black male. How tall could you tell?
5'11".
Tabitha Barnes claims Holtzclaw touched her inappropriately and stalked her. And incredibly, Barnes was permitted by the judge to testify under the...
She later testified that Holtzclaw forced her to expose herself and perform oral sex. She begged him to stop. She thought he might kill her. Instead, she survived and reported him. When Holtzclaw showed up for his next shift, detectives were waiting. They took his DNA, interrogated him for 2 hours, and started digging. What they found was disturbing. One woman told them Holtzclaw assaulted her while she was handcuffed to a hospital bed. Another said he promised leniency if she complied. GPS data placed him at the scene of multiple attacks.
County Sheriff.
An astonishing 263 years behind bars, a sentence that rocked the nation and emotionally paralyzed the Holtzclaw.
13 women eventually came forward, all black, several with criminal pasts, all chosen because he thought they had no voice.
Police patrol car.
And it shows the officer's route, where he worked. That's his unit number right there. So it was actually very easy for us to corroborate the stories of the victims.
Detectives say Holtzclaw could be tracked to every location on the date the women said they were assaulted.
At trial, Holtzclaw denied everything. He pleaded not guilty, but a jury didn't buy it. He was convicted on 18 of 36 charges and sentenced to 263 years in prison.
This is in the District Court of Oklahoma County, State of Oklahoma, the State of Oklahoma versus Daniel K. Holtzclaw, case number CF 2014-5869. Verdict, count 1, sexual battery. We, the jury, impaneled and sworn in the above entitled cause, do upon our oaths find as follows. Defendant is guilty of the crime of sexual battery and set punishment at 8 years. Count 2, procuring lewd exhibition. Not guilty of the crime of procuring lewd exhibition. Count 3, burglary in the first degree. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of burglary in the first degree, nor lesser included. Count 4, Procuring lewd exhibition. Defendant is guilty of the crime of procuring lewd exhibition, and punishment is set at 5 years. Count 5.
However shocking Holtzclaw's actions were, it doesn't compare to the disturbing actions of Officer Gliniewicz.
Joe was using the Explorer's post as his own personal piggy bank. His mortgage, his vacations, his...
On September 1st, 2015, in Fox Lake, Illinois, at 7:52 a.m., Lieutenant Joe Gliniewicz radioed dispatch. He said he was chasing 3 suspects, 2 white males and 1 black male, through the woods near an abandoned cement plant. Backup was on the way. Minutes later, he was found dead.
7:45, did you need a second unit?
Yeah, I'll go ahead, start.
It only took responding officers a handful of minutes to arrive after him, at 8:01, small town and all that. When they did, they found Joe's car parked on the road, looked normal, but no sign of Lieutenant Joe or any ne'er-do-wells. They spread out and saw neither hide nor hair of anyone.
Though it appeared that publicly, law enforcement and the governing bodies who were looking into this thought that Joe was an upstanding, amazing police officer who had done no wrong, almost immediately, something felt off. They quickly sent his mangled phone out to Quantico, hoping the FBI would be able to salvage the contents. Many of the crime scene investigators who had gone to the cement plant after Joe's murder stated that the scene felt entirely staged. Usually, in deadly altercations, there would be some sign of physical disturbance in the surroundings. The swampy terrain should have been trampled or indicate multiple parties being present, but as it was, it seemed like Joe had been the only one there. Secondly, the gun they had thought was missing was found, 3 feet away from Joe's body, indicating that whoever had killed him hadn't thought to disarm him, or at least take the gun for evidence. Thirdly, and seemingly most damning, was the fact that the coroner's report had come out days after the crime, and he had stated publicly that while he was assuming the cause of death was homicide, he couldn't rule out a suicide, an accident, or a homicide. His statements that the death could have been a suicide sent shockwaves through the community. Joe's widow and eldest son stood in stark opposition to this statement, saying that Joe would have never even considered taking his own life and had plans for his future, which most suicidal people wouldn't have made. They likewise went on Crime Watch Daily to admonish the coroner, stating him saying that what happened to Joe was anything other than murder was quote-unquote disrespectful, hurtful, and irresponsible. She also went on to state that President Barack Obama was purposely ignoring her husband's death, even though in similar instances he had called the families of other officers who had died on the job.
A bullet had pierced his chest, his gear was scattered in the marsh, his gun was missing, his radio, taser, and pepper spray were out like a crime scene, straight from a police drama. Law enforcement swarmed the area, helicopters, canine units, and drones. Hundreds of officers from state and federal agencies launched a manhunt.
Joe. Following the source of the gunshot, as it took them closer to the brush and the swamp, on the ground they found a body. It was Joe Gliniewicz.
32, we got an officer down, 6232, officer down at the swamp. Send everybody you possibly can, officer is down.
The country mourned him, G.I. Joe, they called him, a respected officer, mentor to youth, a pillar in the community. But it was all a lie.
Plenty of evidence to show he was anything but. It was also made clear that his friend, Chief of Police Michael Bain, had purposely ignored and hand-waved a lot of Joe's actions, both because they were friends and he likewise took part in some of Joe's less savory habits. After Joe's death, his personnel file was released, and all of the things he had done throughout his storied career finally became public. And while the first 50 or so pages seemed to indicate that he was an amazing policeman, things quickly took a turn. It seemed that Joe had a tendency to ignore his commitments and opt out of his duties, clocking in just to hang out and get drunk. He had then been suspended multiple times for his behavior, but seemed not to care at all that much, and never really feared getting fired.
Over the next 2 months, investigators started asking questions. There were no suspect footprints, no real signs of a struggle. Then they found his gun barely a yard from his body. The autopsy didn't add up. The angle of the bullet, the placement of the gun, none of it made sense. Eventually, the truth came out.
After he was savagely killed, therefore alleviating any blowback on his family for their part in saving his good name. By making it appear he was murdered on the job, his family would have access to his pension and be supported by the police department, no questions asked. The department would likely honor him as a fallen brother, and even if they were to discover that he had used the funds selfishly, they wouldn't let that tarnish his memory now that he was gone. Joe had spent a good portion of his career working for the police explorers and staging fake crime scenes for them, so he knew how to properly set a scene, or at least he knew how to make a scene look believable for children. He pretended to go about his day as usual, stopping for cigarettes before getting to the cement plant. He spent 30 minutes throwing his personal items around and trying to make it appear that he had been attacked by 3 individuals. He then radioed for help and shot himself once in the torso, breaking his phone, hopefully beyond repair, and knocking the wind out of himself. He then waited until he heard reinforcements arrive, then pulled his bulletproof vest away from his chest and shot himself. He dropped the gun, stumbled 3 feet, and then fell, dying before anyone could reach him. For Joe, being held accountable for his crimes was a burden too big for him to bear.
Joe Gliniewicz had been stealing from the department's youth program for years, spending thousands on vacations, gym memberships, mortgage payments, and even he forged documents, stockpiled military gear he shouldn't have had, and even tried to hire a gang member to take out the village administrator investigating his finances.
He wanted to die a hero, and die the way he believed everyone else saw him. He thought, irrationally, that by dying, he would be saving his wife and eldest son from being implicated in his schemes. But, as we all know, that wasn't the case. Melody was indicted mere months after her interview with True Crime Daily for dispersing charitable funds without authority and for personal benefit, and 2 counts of money laundering. She pleaded not guilty to these charges, and stated that despite the text messages of her acknowledging that Joe
I love the kids who came through the program.
Facing exposure and ruin, he staged his own murder to look like a heroic death in the line of duty.
It took 4 years for Stockley to be charged with murder, but a Missouri state judge found Stockley not guilty, saying the prosecution had failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt.
But it shattered fast. Investigators found over 6,500 deleted text messages detailing his schemes. They uncovered harassment complaints, past threats, and misconduct buried under layers of loyalty and silence.
In 2009, it culminated with anonymous members of the Fox Lake Police Department writing a letter to the mayor listing everything Joe had been doing, including having inappropriate sexual relationships with subordinates, sexual harassment, pressuring subordinates into sucking his pecker, cheating on his wife, getting kicked out of bars, grabbing women's breasts at parties.
However, this wasn't the only time a dirty cop did something terrible. Take, for example, the case of Officer Louis Lozano and Eric Mitchell.
Working hard or hardly working?
April 15th, 2017, in Los Angeles, California, was a busy day. Calls were coming in non-stop, and somewhere in that chaos, a robbery report came through. An officer needed backup, but Officers Louis Lozano and Eric Mitchell weren't interested. They were parked in their cruiser, talking about Pokemon Go.
Working hard or hardly working?
Or are you watching a video or are you playing? Oh, watching a video. Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were able to live chat with whoever you were playing a game with online right now.
2 LAPD officers were reportedly fired over this video taken in 2017. The LA Times reports it reveals the 2 officers were playing Pokemon Go while ignoring a call for backup at a robbery. The report says a disciplinary panel reviewed the video and unanimously decided the 2 officers violated department policy by failing to provide backup and then lying to their supervisors about playing the game.
Your items is 1,000, but how many Pokemon? I'm pretty sure it's 1,000, but I haven't got up to that.
Their in-car digital video system recorded everything. Instead of helping their colleague, the 2 officers discussed chasing rare characters in the game. Their excuse? They never heard the call. But the cameras said otherwise. Investigators reviewed the footage and confirmed they not only did hear the call, but they also chose to ignore it. And then they lied about it in the official report.
Cruiser camera video captures two LAPD officers talking about Pokemon Go while a call for help on a robbery comes in.
Is there going to be another Pokeball higher than...
They were fired in 2018. Both appealed the decision, arguing that their private conversations were recorded without proper notice and that their rights had been violated.
Oh, okay. Maybe you were able to live chat with whoever you were playing a game with online right now. I'm like, dang.
Now at 11, the LAPD releasing some shocking new video showing the moments two LAPD officers ignored a backup call about a robbery and instead played Pokemon Go. This all happened back in 2017 when the exchange was caught on the digital camera inside their squad car. The officers continued to ride around and talk about catching the Pokemon character Snorlax. After a captain reviewed the video, well, they were fired the next year. The officers tried arguing the recording should have been dismissed because they were private conversations, but both the lower court and the appeals court disagreed with that.
Wow. The court didn't buy it. In 2022, a California appellate court upheld the decision. The judges agreed they failed to do their job, ignored a real emergency, and then tried to cover it up. The shocking thing was that these weren't rookie officers. Lozano had 17 years on the force, Mitchell had 7, and in that moment, they decided a mobile game mattered more than someone calling for help. This wasn't brutality, it wasn't corruption, it was something simpler, but just as dangerous: total disregard.
Playing Pokemon Go instead of responding to a robbery. A video system in their patrol car captured the officers ignoring the initial report and calls for backup back in 2017. For 20 minutes, the officers were recorded driving to different locations, trying to capture virtual Pokemon creatures. The officers say they didn't hear the radio calls for backup.
Don't let stories like these fade away. If you're angry, good. That means you're paying attention. Like, comment, and share to keep the pressure on. And subscribe so you don't miss what they're trying to bury next.